Yes, guys, welcome to Adam McKola TV. I am Adam, he is Dean. We are back for another MUFC debate. We know you've enjoyed these before, so we're doing them more regularly. In fact, we're going to be bringing you these debates on Manchester United every single week, as well as the previews and much more content on Straight Up, which you can subscribe to in the description below. First things first, Dean, how are you doing, man? You were with me at United over the weekend, on Friday, so it feels like it was a little bit of a while ago because we're doing this a bit later as well. But United started off with a victory and it felt good to be back with the Premier League, didn't it?
It's being back at Old Trafford. It was a good evening, to be fair. The game was good as well. I think obviously it was positive for United, obviously in terms of the result, some of that play, but it was an entertaining game, to be honest. There was chances over, and it wasn't a boring game.
It wasn't a boring game.
If you watch Match of the Day, it would lead you to believe it was dead or something. But, you know what I'm saying? There was nothing there, but no, it was
interesting on Match of the Day because they seemed to focus on Mourinho rather than there was. If I was watching Manchester United for the first time this season, because a lot of people don't watch other teams in pre-season, you would want to hear about. I wonder how did Fred and Pereira do? United had a midfield we've never seen before. And we got to see some glimpses of what that could potentially do in the future. So I thought that was probably the biggest talking point for me. And it was a shame that wasn't discussed. But we know that those kind of places like Matches of the Day don't discuss the things that you guys want to hear. That's why we are here. And places like Full Time Devils, Straight Up, that's why we're here. So make sure you keep watching, sharing and subscribing. And today, as I said, we're discussing a little bit, because you guys have asked so many times, about Jose Mourinho versus Paul Pogba and the potential power struggle there at Manchester United between those two and the board. Who holds more cards? Who holds the upper hand if it came to it? Who would be gone first? So we're going to discuss that between Jose and Pogba, but we don't really want to be lingering on that because whilst both guys have said things which make you believe there's a little bit of an issue there, there's a lot of spin on it as well in the media, and we don't really know what to believe and what not to believe. So we'll speak a little bit on Paul Pogba and Jose, and then we'll give you our opinions on whether Manchester United can or will win the Premier League. First things first, Jose Mourinho versus Paul Pogba. What have you made of it all, Dean?
To be honest, there always has to be some kind of negative talking point where United are concerned from the outside world sort of thing, and it's just now everyone seems to be running with this Pogba and Jose Mourinho story. From seeing it, I think maybe I'm a bit biased in terms of I want to be positive in terms of United, but I think sometimes the quotations and things are took out of context, or people are reading more into the headlines, and then when you actually read someone's their actual quotes, he's not like Pogba, for example, in the interview where it's been highlighted when he's thanked X, Y, and Z for being captain, etc. He hasn't mentioned Jose, so inevitably they lead with the headline. You know what I'm saying? There's unrest, but I just think that, personally, I just think maybe because of the season he had last season and certain public comments, I don't think Pogba's Jose's biggest fan. But at the same time, I think Pogba knows in order for him to be a winner, he needs to be under a winner. So I think as much as they may not be as best pals, I think it showed. Well, again, it's only one game, but it showed. It give him the captaincy. So as much if he's feeling that bad, why would you give him the captain's armband? You just give it to someone else, innit? In my opinion. And I think, and as well, Pogba kind of repaid it in terms of he was one of the best players on the pitch. So I think they can still work together. I just think that again, I think the news, the media, they read a lot into it to spin it.
They read a lot into what Pogba didn't say rather than what he did say. Yeah. Now, whatever I saw Pogba say after the game, I saw two interviews, so one with the MUTV and one with, I think, the BBC, and he didn't mention anything about Mourinho, but he also mentioned how he wants to win the Premier League and how he wants to win big trophies and how he loved being captain. Nothing about about Mourinho. When I heard Mourinho talk, he called Paul Pogba a monster and he praised his game that day. But look, I do think Jose Mourinho has maybe brought on a few of these mystery comments, because we saw Pogba's tweet as well, where it was kind of like, I do this for the fans and my teammates, and it was like, what are you trying to say here? So I can see them both been at it in ways with comments. Jose Mourinho pretty much refusing to credit him at the World Cup and just saying, he needs to change if he wants to be like that for Manchester United more consistently. And whilst, yes, consistently his performances have to be better, the fact Jose didn't admit that he was part of the problem, I think, or even publicly supporting Pogba, has probably rubbed Paul Pogba up the wrong way. But I still don't think this is a thing where it's gonna necessarily be the be-all and end-all of either or. I think it's something that a few victories down the line. Because I remember at the end of when we won the Europa League, the last game, which was the final game that season, Jose's first season, those two were running around, hugging, all that stuff on the pitch. Yeah. And then obviously towards the end of 2018 season, 2017-18, his relationship with Jose seemed a little bit worse off. But there's nothing to say that this season could have ended in those guys hugging again. Like, football is that up and down, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I just think personally, I think Mourinho just wants more out of Pogba, and I think Mourinho knows that knows that Pogba's got more to offer, and I think that it's his way of kind of encouraging that, because at the same time, Jose has managed some top midfielders, and he's seen what it takes to be successful. So, and even then, it's like, I think if you were Mourinho, for example, you would suggest that Pogba winning the World Cup, you suggest you've had some kind of input on Pogba in the last 2 years. Obviously, people now want to spin it as if it's a negative influence, but in reality, he has coached him for the last 2 years. Your man just won the World Cup as like probably the pinnacle of the midfield. You know what I mean? So again, I think if anything, I think it's like, again, it'd probably be Mourinho, like, I kind of told you so. Like, with whatever he said, obviously he was given probably a slightly different role for France, but again, I just think that Mourinho wants the best out of Pogba, and I think that I just hope at some point, like in the future, when hopefully we're successful, that it's like, you know, it's one of them I told you so moments where it's like, yeah, I told you, if you listen to me, like, you know, I'll make you successful. But you see it with like Joe Cole. I remember Joe Cole at Chelsea under Mourinho, and it's like he was all this flair and all that. He would get whipped off at certain times, and then Joe Cole was like a dead start for Chelsea at certain points, and it's like, again, no, I'm not going to start coming here saying Mourinho's the best with like youngsters, etc. But he can encourage people to be better who are already good, in my opinion.
I hear that, but I do think there's a certain way you go about things as well, and I do think certain points he could have been better with both Pogba, Martial, and I know Shaw's come out and said, like, you know, he's texted with Mourinho and stuff, but even then, like, publicly, some of the things you've said about those players, questioning their application, questioning their professionalism. I think that's, for especially someone like Pogba, who, you know, I know people love to say, Pogba loves social media and that. He's hardly ever on social media, really. And like, he's a player that dedicates himself to professionalism first and foremost. Even if he loves these jazzy haircuts and that whatever, he dedicates himself to his professionalism, which has been shown in his career. So I think for a manager to question his application and question his professionalism and kind of not take any responsibility for that, at least publicly, has probably pissed Pogba off a little bit. Now the thing for me is, I think if Jose gets into a head-to-head with Pogba, he loses ultimately with the club, because I think Pogba probably has more power there, as bad as that may sound. I think that is because Pogba's got many more years ahead of him. Some would say Jose may not be here for more than 2, 3, whatever years, however many years you're going to say. But just hear me out here. So I feel like with the club, they'd probably have Pogba as their preference if it came down to it. That's why I don't really think it's a wise battle for Jose as well.
To be honest, from my perspective, everyone always comes off with this, Jose is going to be here for a couple of seasons, etc. Me personally, I think he'll be here for 10 years minimum. I think. Like, I cannot foresee a situation.
That is a shout, you know.
I cannot foresee a situation where we let him go.
That is a big shout, you know.
Yeah, no, but that's again, like, even with I think that the board will want that, and I think Mourinho himself. If me personally, if this was Football Manager and you signed Pogba, I'd want to. If I reckon this was my opinion when Pogba came. I think if Pogba's in the midfield, I think he could bust the Premiership for the next 10 years. And I think if you as a manager, you want to be with a player like that in your team. And I think Mourinho knows that himself. he's got some players there who really you want to, like, if you stick around for the best parts of their career, you are going to be successful. Even then, you look at where would Mourinho go after United? You can't go back to Chelsea. You're never going to go Liverpool. You're never going to go Arsenal. You're never going to go Spurs. You ain't going to go back to Madrid. You ain't going Barca. You can't really go back to, you know what I'm saying? You ain't going to go, Italy's dead. Like, wait, PSG maybe. United's the biggest job out there for him. And, like, you can see in what, to me, I always think that everything he says, he's always geared towards the future. So I think he knows, in essence, as long as obviously we be successful, then obviously he keeps a job in it. I don't think he's looking elsewhere. Like,
I could potentially, like, when Jose came, I didn't find it unrealistic, despite the fact his record of management in terms of duration was always 3 years. Because if he's here to the end of this season and he's preparing for a fourth season, this has been his longest job. So like what I'm saying is, when he arrived, I didn't find it surprising to say he could be here for 5 years. I actually saw that potentially, because I never ever thought Jose would get us out of the top four. And I thought, while he keeps us in the top four, the club won't sack him, and they'll give him time to build a team. But this summer, and like, I know the club have given him a new contract, but there seems to be some sort of battle there between him and the board. And for that reason, I feel like if things don't go to plan, shit could implode very quickly. And that's my fear. Obviously, my hope is we win the league, and it's amazing. But that is my fear, and I have seen signs to make me doubt whether Jose will still be here for 3, 4, 5 years.
Why though?
Because of not because of me saying I don't want him to be here, but because of what is going, like the board not backing him in a transfer.
The board
window.
have backed him, really.
But they haven't.
They've backed him to the amount of money they're willing to spend. But they haven't.
No, they haven't. Because
maybe it's not what he
wants. But they didn't buy the players that he wanted. It's that simple. He said it every summer. I wanted this much players. He never got it. This much players. He never got it. They've failed to back him.
If you're a kid at Christmas and your parents get you most of your presents and you don't get to cover, it's like,
bro,
you still got them some stuff.
Look at Manchester City. Yeah, I know we're not
open checkbook,
but Manchester United have much more money than we are spending.
But this is a business.
But listen to me,
looking for profit.
Like, they have not. You cannot look at our transfers and say they've backed him fully.
He
wanted more.
Pogba for 90 million, broke the world record.
Besides that, they know they're bringing money in on Pogba. If we're making signings that ain't making money, they're not being on it to sign them, and therefore they haven't backed the manager. The manager wanted a left back. The manager wanted a centre half. He never got them. These are facts, bro.
They backed him
These
to
are
get
facts.
Alexis.
They haven't
I don't think he was
him.
in for Alexis. You know, then what? Like, you know, like it's like
again a transfer that makes money for these men.
How? Like,
you can't. So are you saying to me everything is rosy with the board and the manager?
With the board, but at the same time, it's like he's seen like when
America.
Nothing. If Jose wants more, then obviously it's like, bro, I think I need more tools to.
So you don't think the board should have backed him more?
I think they should, as obviously a fan. You get me?
Okay,
but
so
as a business, they're probably thinking.
Do you think everything is rosy between the board and the manager?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. That when I say, I don't think. Like, now I start to doubt whether Jose will be here much longer because of his relationship with the board. Like, that is just facts. Like, there's something going on there.
But it's like Sir Alex never really said anything again. You know, like he never really said.
But his genius.
It's not to say that he
would win the treble with this team or something stupid like that. His genius will win the league with this team.
No, with City in the league, it's a different proposition. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, City was 19 points clear of.
That's why I just doubt that thing where you say I see him being here for 10 years. Like,
who's closing that gap? Who can you employ?
No, but I'm just saying, like, if there's a problem there between him and the board, I don't think we can be that certain. That's what I'm saying. But the question was, Pogba and Jose, if the board had to choose, if it come to it, is this a fight that Jose should be taking on?
I think it depends at what. I think it depends what happens in terms of if when this decision will happen. So if it's the end of the season, it depends if we won a league or not. Obviously, individual performance, so Jose's performance and Pogba's performance, and then potentially what we'd get offered for Pogba. Because at the same time, like, we bought him for 90 million. I was hearing the pittance that apparently Barca were coming with, and it's like, to me, in this day's market, if you just want a World Cup, if you're telling me Neymar's worth like 180 or something, and Neymar's 190, like, it's like, to me, Pogba's worth more than that today. But in terms of we keep inflating these prices, it's like he has to be over 200 mil, and it's like, but even then, if you got 200 mil, people know you got 200 mil. Who do you sign in midfield now? That's, to me, it's like,
No, so Jose Pogba, is it a fight he should take? If it came down to it, they should just squash this shit. ASAP.
I think it will be squashed over time. But again, I think Jose he's giving the captain's armband, so it's like, you know what I'm saying. It's not that much beef because it's like, bro, I've just hooked you up here. You know what I'm saying? Like I could choose anybody else.
Is that okay? Okay, is because the armband a sign that he's maybe he's gave the stick and now he's giving the carrot?
I don't know about any sticks and carrots in that, but it's like, to me,
that sounded kind of fruity there.
I don't know about that, but it's like, to me, it's like Pogba just won the World Cup, innit? Before he won the World Cup, to be honest, he had to be a contender for being our captain, I think, because you can't. I don't think he can. Valencia's had a long tenure, but he's not. To me, he's no Roy Keane. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to G up the players. Like, not to say Pogba's Roy Keane, but I think Pogba had to be a contender then. Before the World Cup, but it's like now, if you're a World Cup winner, you know what I'm saying. Even though he's young, you are a contender. Like, to me, if it's not him, like in terms of leadership, it has to be Lukaku. I think if you watch him in the World Cup, like, but
Spanish
again,
Dave.
Yeah, but he's at the back. Like, I'm not really a fan of like. I don't know.
Not reliable enough.
No, I'm just thinking in terms of like, I wouldn't. De Gea maybe will be captain, yes, but you're too far at the back.
Isn't Valencia our captain?
Yeah. But he's not like. To me, he doesn't like. Obviously, he does kind of set by example, but I don't know, man. I don't know if he can G up, man, like a Roy Keane or, you know what I'm saying. Or
you don't really have the Roy Keanes anymore, do you? I do think Pogba's a good fit for the captaincy, though. I think everyone looks up to him, and I think, yeah, good fit. Moving on from that to the main topic. That, by the way, Jose against Pogba is not something I particularly want to talk about or Dean. It's what you requested when I asked earlier in the community section on the YouTube channel, which you can go and check out every now and then to find out what's going on and have your say in what the content is. Maybe every week I'll ask you guys for your suggestions on a debate. So the actual debate is, will Manchester United win the league, or rather, can Manchester United win the league? This isn't a knee-jerk reaction to what we saw at the weekend. This is just our thoughts in general. Now we've looked at our squad. Manchester United squad. In goal, David De Gea, Lee Grant, Sergio Romero. I think we've got the best goalkeeper in the world, the best backup in the world, and we've got Lee Grant just in case shit hits the fan. In defence, we've still got Matteo Darmian, but we've got Antonio Valencia, Diego Dalot, Lindelof, Bailly, Jones, Smalling, Rojo, Luke Shaw, Ashley Young. Anyone I've forgotten? Axel Tuanzebe's gone out on loan, Fosu Mensah's gone out on loan. But those are the main defenders. In midfield, Fred, Pereira, Pogba, Herrera, Matic. I think it's sounding a lot healthier in there. McTominay, Fellaini. It's sounding a lot healthier in that midfield area. Jesse Lingard, Mata, Sanchez, Marshall, Rashford, Lukaku provide us with the attack. How do you feel going into this season as a Manchester United fan? Do you think we have enough to challenge for the league title?
Yeah, I think we got enough to put a title chance together. I think just from seeing Fred, to be honest, I think when we get starting midfield back, which I think will be Pogba, Matic, and Fred, I just think that midfield is gonna it's got the potential to be nuts. And I think against all the the midfields in the Premiership, I think that those three would. If this was like Wembley Faces or something, I think those three would put up a decent fight against any of those midfield. To be honest, I would back them. I think Fred offers so much in terms of, obviously he's tough in a challenge. He's got you know what I'm saying. He's nice in tight spaces. He's got a good range of passing. I think, he's quick, and I think that it gives opposition midfield more to think about, because I think at times personally, I always think that like last season, the season before, to be honest, if nothing comes through Pogba. Nothing in terms of the ball in midfield, if Pogba don't create anything, nothing happens. Because to me, I just don't think no one's got really an eye for a pass apart from Pogba. And in terms, obviously, he offers a lot of assists just direct to a striker. Obviously, Ibrahimovic and Lukaku, and I just think that Fred will be able to do the same. And I think when they both get decent statistics, which I anticipate they'll get, inevitably, I think we'll have to be challenging. I think in terms of a one-on-one game with City, I think we'll have we can definitely go at them. I think more confidently.
Full squad.
Yeah. Obviously, if we see how injuries and that play out. But
you mentioned the Matic, Pogba, and Fred midfield, and I do think that would be our first choice midfield in a lot of games. And I think particularly in the bigger games and in the games where we need a more physical presence in the midfield in front of our defence. But I have been impressed with Andreas Pereira, and I want to see us moving. Obviously, in some games, like at Leicester at home, in some games at home where we don't need to be as defensively aware, to use a Pereira or a Herrera instead of Matic, just so we've got more mobility. But I did like Fred the other day, and I think he brings us something else in that midfield. I've said this before, but when Fellaini plays in there, or even Matic, they like to pull wide for a pass rather than go forward. And I think we saw with Fred and with Pogba, they both go forward. And that's what we need from both of them. Someone that's going to go forward in games. Someone that's going to get us on the front foot. Transition from defence to attack quickly. Because if we're not, I don't think we get the best out of our attack. We get the best out of our attack when we've got them running at players. When you've got Martial and Rashford and Sanchez and Lukaku, you don't want a static midfield. So I do think they bring that to us, and I'm happy with the signing of Fred. The only thing for me is, in the squad particularly, is that defensive area. We're relying on Bailly and Lindelof staying fit, and we're relying on Luke Shaw having the season of his life now. He showed very good signs against Leicester City, not just because he scored the goal. He's been fully fit throughout pre-season, so that's good signs. But what do you think about our defence going forward? Do we have enough in defence to say? Do you look at that defence and think that is a title-winning defence?
I think if it's combined with a penetrative attack, I think it is. I think last season with that same defence, we conceded one more goal, I think, than City. City obviously won the league, but they scored a truckload more goals. I think 37. I think they scored more, and it's like, again, I think that's why I think, going back to Fred, I think that's why he's so important, because obviously we need to score more goals. Like, a lot of the time when we're playing teams that are just got 11 men behind the ball, and you know what I'm saying, there's not much space, and I think that obviously we need more players. Obviously, like Pereira as well, I think he offers a different option, like I say, in midfield, where he's had a good season on loan, and now he's a good player, a good ball player, and it's like, with his range of passing, again, I think there's more options for us to create goals, in which then we can. Then in essence, I don't think it doesn't really kind of matter. Yeah, I don't think it matters, because in terms of sometimes I think obviously City do. I don't want to keep harping on about City, but it's like sometimes they just blow teams away, and like
they don't need a defence.
Yeah. So like, it don't really matter. Like Liverpool on the weekend, you know what I mean? It's like they're putting man to the sword. You know, it don't really. I don't even know who they was playing.
Sherlock.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yo, they're like putting teams away, and so it don't really matter. Like, even if they do score, like, so I just think, like, that's me personally. That's why it's like I wanted us to focus, if we was going to sign anyone, on an attacker, because it's like we could have a tighter defense, but we need to score more goals. I think a lot of the games we struggled last season, it's where we can't break teams down.
And I do think that's because we haven't been able to rely on our defence a little bit, so we focus on that a little bit more. I think we've got two centre halves we can rely on. I think our midfield can, we're not defending so, deep.
Yeah,
a lot of the time I think Matic, and we find like our defence just ain't good enough. And I think if I as a defensive midfielder can rely on those pair behind me, maybe I'm gonna look forward a little bit more.
But I know this is obviously, I know a lot of people are.
That's why Bailly and Lindelof are so important.
Yeah, but it's like, again, Bailly was back on Friday, and it's like, when I'm watching him play, I'm just thinking, like, this guy, if I was a striker, I'd hate to play against Bailly, because he's quick, he's strong. He just
but that's what I mean. He has to stay fit.
But again, if we had Bailly fit more last season, I think inevitably we have more points. But obviously he wasn't. So I think at the same time, you do need some to win. In order to win a league, you need some luck. If we can keep Bailly fit, I think to be honest, if Bailly stays fit, I think I could play next to Bailly, and I think we'd have a decent chance. Them ones. Like, I just think like Bailly is so imperative to our defence. It's a joke. And again, obviously, even against Leicester, like,
and I think Lindelof could become as important this season with a good season.
I like the optimism like Hope, so like, I'm not too convinced.
And I hope Luke Shaw does. I know he has the potential. Whether he does or not is another story, but I hope he does. Anyway, let me dive into the comments just as we're halfway through this video. Tim, happy birthday, mate. Someone else said City are the benchmark at the moment, said Nigel. Big up Adam and Dean, just joined in the convo, says Marco. Denchman Joe is enjoying himself in the comments. as is Patty. Jacob says, off the ball, we are good positionally. Do you guys interact with the viewers, says Nigel. I guess this counts, doesn't it? Lindelof and Bailly needs to play 35 or 38 matches and Fellaini should not start, says Roger. Is there any chance of buying a centre-half in January, says Nabil? I think the club are going to wait until next summer and get Toby Alderweireld for 25 mil.
I think he's a bit older. Like he will be 30 in March or something like that.
But I think they could wait around until then. It would make sense, and I think 25 mil for even Toby Alderweireld at 30 is a snip. And I think that's just how our clubs run at the moment. Mourinho will win us the treble, says Faizan. Thoughts on our squad rotation, says Charlie. I think we do need to rotate a little bit more this season. Yeah, we didn't do it enough last season. We kept playing. Obviously, we couldn't do it in some positions because of injury. But for example, like we broke Lukaku. I think there were times when he just looked a little bit shot.
Yeah, but again, it's like your man said in the comments about like, so we don't need Fellaini to start. It's like there's certain games where Fellaini's going to be useful. In my opinion, it's like Burnley away. Like I'll probably like. I don't even know when that is, but it's like Fellaini. I think
it's soon. I
think you'd be like Fellaini, like yo, it's probably a decent game for you to start there because obviously he's gonna be more like physical, etc. So I think again, it's kind of squad rotation. I think this is what it kind of does my head when people lose the red over Fellaini re-signing. It's like he's useful, you know what I mean? Like he's tall, he's strong, he's got probably the best chest in world football. Pause, you know what I'm saying? Like, like he does offer things. Like he got to the semi-finals of the World Cup with Belgium, playing in kind of an important role. Like you can't. Yes, he's not the most tidy at feet, but it's like to me, it's like Makaleli. Yeah, I'm slightly off topic, but Makaleli was probably one of the best defensive midfielders, the most awful technical football player you probably ever see. But it's like obviously like the role he does in that team and his skills would just perfectly suit. And I think sometimes Fellaini can do that, but
Nigel says, I think it brings us on to a good point as well. He says we need another 20 to 30 season goal scorer. Now, do you think we have that in Alexis Sanchez? And do you think we have enough goals in this team? Now, Jose Mourinho's obviously looked at a right winger in this window. We looked at a left winger in Perisic in the past. And there's been talk about Willian and all that. You look at our team, right wing is definitely a spot where we haven't really got a natural right winger. So you'd think it's kind of obvious. But having said that, do you think we've got enough in attack going forward? I think we've spoken about the defence, and I think we're all in agreement that if we're going to do well, we need Lindelof, Bailly to be fit throughout the season, and we need Shaw to have a good campaign. But do you think in attack we have enough?
I think on paper we definitely do, or in terms of especially in terms of talent that we can see and potential. I think Lukaku has to be looking 25 plus goals this season. He looked better in the World Cup.
He did, yeah.
He's got to be confident from that. I think obviously he's older, so he should be better. I think he should have a good season. I think, like I said, he should be getting 25 to 30 goals minimum. For me, to be honest, I think Sanchez, he's got the potential to score 30 goals. I don't. To me, he's a bit more unselfish. So I think that he could potentially make more goals.
But I think if Sanchez gets less than 20 goals, it's been a failure of a season. He has to be getting that.
Yeah,
obviously, if he got 19 and he got as many assists, then I'm not going to say it's a failure. But I'm just saying, like generally speaking, if he plays, because he's going to play most games, you'd think, because his record is played poorly, never been dropped. So you'd think no matter what happens, he's playing. So he has to, as a result, he has to score goals.
Yeah, I think this is what they're going to get. All these strikers are going to get chances. Rashford, Martial. Again, there's the potentials there with Martial and Rashford. Rashford just been given the number 10 shirt. You know what I mean? That's what to me.
I do think Sanchez is going to have a big season this season. I know you laughed I was taking shots at him, but that wasn't a shot at him. That was a shot at Mourinho.
Yeah.
Not a shot at Sanchez. I fully back Sanchez, but he needs to perform better this season. And I do think he will after the pre-seasons that I know he wasn't great against Leicester. I just think he will come good. He's too good not to.
There were still signs there against. For me, there were still.
Yeah, because if you take those two chances he created, it's a different story. But he was awful at times, and I think, bro, if there's been times where if Rashford, Marshall's played like that, Jose's said something.
But
and
again,
that was the problem last
season. He's still got that one piece of class in him. It's like he puts it on a plate for Lukaku. Like, for me, Lukaku has to score. He's a great save from Schmeichel, but have to score. If he get that, yes, get off with an assist. But I think obviously, me personally, I think he gets goals this season.
Same.
I think Martial and Rashford. I think again the potential's there. It's just they need to perform and they need to. This is the challenge is on them, innit?
And Jose to get the best out of them because he didn't last season. Dean, I know you're gonna say it's all on the players, but I feel he had to take some of them.
Sometimes I just think again, like I think there's not he didn't have certain tools to help, man. But I think again with Pereira say being available and Fred, I think already you could see like again it was like going to the game and it wasn't as boring as last season. Like I know it was only the first game. But it wasn't like we was moving the ball quickly and I think just the fact that people are now like Fred's moving and Pogba's moving and Pereira's moving and all got a decent range of passing. I think just it makes for a more open game. So I think inevitably there's going to be more space for the attackers to run into. I think that was one of our problems in terms of breaking down teams. There's hardly any movement and then you're expecting to like just beat defenders like putting it through on like a standstill race or something like.
Jacob says Shaw's going to be a key player. Arvinder says we're going to be a France copy this season. Prepare for early goals and controlling games without the ball, boys. If it means we won the big one at the end of it.
That's what Jose does, though. Oh, that's what he did. That's what I always remember Jose as.
See, that's what I wanted to ask you earlier. Shot. So we've kind of discussed the attack. I'm in agreement. I think we've got enough goals there. I think on paper, if you start the season, you think Lukaku. I know he's never done it, but he got his best ever season total last season, 30 plus. That's reasonable, isn't it? Yeah. 20 plus from Sanchez, is that reasonable? Between Martial and Rashford,
all competitions, 100%.
Between Martial and Rashford, if them man can get 30 plus, that's 30, 20. That's 80 goals in a team from 4 players. That's what we should be expecting from them, man, minimum. And if you can have Mata and Lingard potentially hitting double figures. You don't know what can happen. So I think it's vital we get goals from that. I think it's vital Jose gets them playing in a way that will allow them to score goals. But I think it's vital that they find that consistency. I think Lukaku had spells last season when he was awful, particularly in the middle of the campaign just before Christmas. Martial and Rashford, I think when they get the chances, they have to take them. Because we've already seen the manager's going to pick who, based on if you're not performing, more time you're going to be rotated in and out. So we need to see it from these strikers. Now,
I think I think another point is that I think as well, as much as the strikers need to score, the midfielders need to score as well. And I think you look at City last season, like De Bruyne's getting goals, Silva's getting goals. You know what I'm saying?
How many goals do you think Pogba should be getting?
Again, to me, you should 10 to 15. Like you need to be in the mold of like a Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard. You know what I'm saying? You need to be getting probably 15 to 20 goals. Really, like if you're as for the potential you've got in it, like you see him, like, and it's to me, you've got all the attributes there in it. So again, in order for you to be in line with like kind of where you need to be heading with your career, like you need to be getting 15 to 20 goals. Like, I think, like just in the Prem or something, like. But again, he's got off to a good start.
I think at least 10 in the league, innit? 9 more.
Yeah, but it's not to win a league.
That's 1 in 3.
Yeah, but to win a league, it's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but to win the league, like, you can't expect really.
Your best midfielder's got to be getting. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nigel says 15.
How much did De Bruyne get last? I'm sure he got like 16 goals or something, and it's like your man plays in midfield. Silva's getting goals. In order to win the league, I think you have got to spread the goals out. Like, what's Lingard got to get?
Danny says we're going to win the league. Arvinder says more balance, 8 to 15 goals for Paul, says Richard. Adam, I like Jose, but the way he has managed to convince people that Martial is lazy just pisses me off. Every United fan knows that the boy is the real deal. That isn't my other account, by the way. Eric D says Pogba has more goals per 90 minutes than Kevin De Bruyne. Callum Hack says you're expecting too much from part of the boss manager. Zylo says Pogba should be scoring over 10 league goals, so should Jesse. Everyone else in the midfield at least 5. Delo is back training with the squad, says Dean. That's good news. Marshall should get 20 goals plus. I think that's reasonable in all competitions, Rajat. But I do think he needs to play in at least 35 plus games to be able to achieve that. Double figures for Jesse, Rashford, Marshall should be getting 20 plus, says Nigel. Pogba had less minutes and better ratio for the minutes he played, says Bounty Hunter. We dropped 9 points in December. If we added that to the 81, we would have 90 points. Surely that's enough, says Radamagan. Because yes, will City be as amazing as they were last season? I hate to say that. You'd like to think they'd drop at least 9 points from that tally that they had last season, but who knows? What I wanted to discuss, we got about 10 to 15 minutes remaining of the show, is do you think we have a manager that is capable of winning the Premier League again?
Yes, unequivocally. Like Jose, he's been there, done it, and he's won leagues in all around Europe. Like for me, he knows exactly what's needed. I hear all this talk that he's turned 70 or something, and man are saying he's outdated, and I don't see it, to be honest. I think that he's if we're basing it at United, he's against another team who's just had an open checkbook. You know what I'm saying? That able to buy keepers. You know what I'm saying, for big money. Like,
do you think his hands have been tied then by the board?
He's just not. He's not afforded the same amount of funds. Yeah, aren't it? If Jose's at City, 100% he's doing right. I don't know if they play as nice a football, but 100% they don't want to leave.
Patrick says yes. Drace says yes. Radamagan says yes. Callum says a big fat no. Nigel says definitely. So those are a few of the comments, mostly saying yes, but a few saying they don't think so. Arvinder says Jose was unlucky. Last year's City side was a freak. Only delusional fans will say yes, says Callum. Radamagan then says yes. Pereira should play on the right wing when Matic returns. With other clubs but not with United. Yes, with other clubs but not with United, says Anthony, which is an interesting way to look at things. So that is what they are saying. I think that is an interesting point, yes.
Your man's got a good point that Jose is winning games that we dreamt when Moyes and LVG was here.
Oh yeah. Mustafa says Jose is winning games that what we dreamt when Moyes and LVG was here. But still, I think with the players that we have, we should be playing better. I think is a big point.
It's results business, isn't it? Like,
so were the results good enough last season?
Nah, but that's not. Again, that's what it comes down to. But it's like everyone just focuses on our style of play. But in reality, like your man says, if we get them over 9 points, it's a different story in terms of our
okay,
but
so regardless tactically and stylistically, I think in terms of his man management, he does need to improve in that aspect. Genuinely do. I've always felt that.
Luke Shaw's just got I don't know. It's like Luke Shaw's getting all this bad press, and it's like Luke Shaw just comes out with bare stuff like what Mourinho's saying. It's like just goes over there with everyone like I
do still think he can win the league though.
Yeah,
but I think he needs backing by the manager. I think he's not by the board. Sorry,
he's not.
And he made an interesting point when he said we're not managers no more, we're head coaches. Interesting point to the board.
We're talking. For me. This is a talking point. This talk about director of football business. Like to me, like I don't know if Jose is going to stick under that because he's not.
Yeah, that's weird for me. I can't unless he picks the man. That. I think it's going to be a club appointment.
That's the most stupid thing.
Then it's like you're putting another man there. Fair enough, he might know more about football than Ed Woodward, but knowing more about football could then mean he thinks he knows more about football than Jose, and then there could be clashes there. I don't think Jose is the right manager to have a director of football above.
No, I don't think, to be honest.
I think a coach, yes. Jose is not a coach. He's a manager.
If he like it's his job, and so it's like if your man should be able to sign who he wants, not like you could bring like a scout, like this player over here is sick, and you know what I'm saying, we could get him for X amount of money, but none of this like this is who we're buying sort of thing. You need to just work with that. Like to me, that's the dumbest. Like there's certain clubs in the Prem that's kind of managed that way, and it's like you hear like managers after they leave, like these weren't my players. You know what I'm saying? Like they signed all these players, and like I didn't even want them. You know, them ones like. To me, I think that would. I don't know if Jose stays.
I think as long as the manager has a say in who is signed, I think a director of football could definitely help. In terms of if they're coming to Jose saying, "We've got this guy. Do you want us to go for him?" and then they start them negotiations, I can see that helping because it's clear that Ed Woodward ain't getting players shot and he ain't getting players in properly. But in terms of if these lot are just going out and then he's coming back to the manager saying, "Yo, I've signed this guy for you," that is because then what if they've signed a player that's £40 million, £50 million, and you feel like you have to play him?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not really a fan of it, but it does happen, because Luke Shaw, for example, wasn't signed by any manager, and he was signed by, I think he was just signed when Ferguson left or whatever, and so. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is some players who I think certain clubs are just like, yeah, like I think Pogba, to be honest, I think if there was a chance of us getting Pogba, I think he comes regardless who's the manager. I think if the club can do it, but I don't know.
Tom Moy says Jose wants a director of football. Faison says Jose is a proven winner, might be the only manager who could win us the league.
Trust.
If he leaves, we should forget winning the league. I don't think that necessarily, because I don't think one man. No. Let me hear me out. I don't think one manager defines Manchester United. You get me? But I do hear you in terms of who is available at the moment.
No, I'm not. Who's available? Not even who's available. Who is that? Like, who can? This is a hard. And the thing is, this is a hard league, and it's getting harder. Like, I was reading someone in the news, following off about like Wolves and stuff. Their 7-year plan. It's like, like, if they've got the dough to do it, you can half become title champions in the next 7 years or whatever they're talking about, and it's like, against you'd have another team that's got bare money. Like, so nowadays football has changed, and people don't want to hear it, and that, but the money has changed football massively. Like I say, City got open checkbook,
but
PSG
still,
got open checkbook. You know what I'm saying?
I totally hear that, and I understand that.
You can't compete with these for players.
I think the board had to back Jose Mourinho, but then I also feel Jose Mourinho has to get more out of what he has.
It's business, isn't it? Like,
no, but that's the facts. Those are two facts that I'm saying right now. I think these are facts. There might not be. I might be having a Rafa moment. But these are facts to me. The board should have backed the manager more in the transfer market if they wanted to show that they want to be successful and win the league. But Jose Mourinho should also be getting way more out of this team and some of these players. Sorry, but these are facts.
He should be getting more out of this team, but it's like, you got, again, like some decisions, like some games went against last season, but we was far second, but we was still the second best team in England last season. Like,
okay, how do you see things going this season?
I think that well, to be honest, I think it depends on how we start. I think with the interruption at the World Cup side, I think to be honest, the next 6 games, to be honest, it doesn't personally matter about performance. It just matters about 3 points. I think you need to win 6 out of your first 6 games. Because that's kind of
in those 6 games.
Yeah. Again, you have to.
I think that's our most difficult game in those.
You have to win that. To me, you have to go. You have to win that at home. You have to win that game.
We got Brighton, Tottenham, Burnley, and someone else, obviously.
I think the way that City played last season, like I say, like the way they're just looking to attack, and I think that sometimes I think there's some games you could kind of accept a draw. I just don't think now. I don't think you can do that. I think you need to go out and try and win every game. That old cliche, but genuinely we need to go and try and do that. I think if we have a good start, I think we'll be there or thereabouts. Personally, I think.
You think we'll win the league?
I think it depends on City. To be honest, I think if City replicate anywhere near to what they like, if they get over 90 points this season, I think they probably win it. To be honest, but I think if anyone finishes above City, I think you're champions. And I think as much as people want to gas Liverpool and this that, I think we'll still be the closest to City. To be honest, I think, like I say, City set the benchmark so high last season. I think there's little room for error. Like over the season, what can you afford to lose? 3, maybe 4 games?
I think we're relying on fullbacks performing and centre halves staying fit and performing to win the league. And if that happens, we can. But there's too many question marks for me, and I think it might be closer. But I think they'll still finish second this season. But I just hope I'm proven wrong. Because we have got enough to do it. If it clicked. If somehow it clicked and you got Sanchez, Marshall, Rashford flying, Lukaku flying, Pogba flying, that's beating any team.
But that's what I'm saying. I think we need players who are going to be talked about at the end of the season for like best player of the year and stuff. Like, we haven't had anyone like. I think like since Van Persie, you know what I'm saying. No one don't win nothing like this. Or we have De Gea in the team of the year, and it's like we need our right backs, centre backs, left backs, centre midfielders, wingers, forward. We need all of them to be in contention, because if that's what it's going to come down to. It's like, out of our 11, who's 11? Like, out of every all the top teams, who's the best team? The best team out of those, like, say four teams, if you like, that's who's going to win the league. Whoever's team performs the best in some statistics, etc. Go in the league. We need to be. To me, it's City, and you need to be better than City. Like, it's a tough ask, and they're full of confidence. So
hopefully, this time next year, we're talking about how Jose sent Pep on another sabbatical. But
I don't know if that. I think even like Pep himself, like he's a what 4-season manager, like he says, like, but he's sticking around at City. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not looking to go nowhere. Man's getting minted. Like regardless, I think if you don't win the league, I think he stays. Like, but
I think Jose only gets sacked if he finishes outside the top 4, or he has a bust up with the board.
For me, I would have even.
But if he finishes outside the top 4 with that team, he deserves to get sacked. Sorry,
yeah, no,
but that's
but
facts. You can't be saying, "Oh no, that's
facts.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing all this talk about like on Twitter or whatever. It's like people suggesting us we're not going to finish top 4. For me, it's like
we are finishing.
I think under Jose, I think
we are finishing top 4.
Yeah, but it's like people are just pathetic, man. But like I don't know. I think we challenge enough. So
people do that every year. They'll start like talking about how this is like
Arsenal's going to massively change, and it's like it's the same thing. You get me? Like you know what I'm saying? All the like. For me, again, like I think we were the closest to City. I think.
I agree, but I don't think we'll win the league. I'm hoping Jose don't implode because of the board, and I'm hoping Pogba, Lukaku, Martial, and them have a great season. But that has been some sort of debate on whether we think Manchester United can win the league. Personally, I think we do have enough, but there's too many question marks over our defence, and yeah. We've just got to hope it all clicks somehow. If it clicks, we could be a very, very dangerous side for anybody. Dean, any final words before you go?
Just I don't know, man. Need to keep it positive. You get me? Like, yo, we won the first game, innit? Like, trust me now. Like, the atmosphere was good at the game, innit? So I just hope that continues and we don't kind of let all this kind of talk like just get in the way of that. And obviously, like, everyone just back the team, and obviously, like. You know what I'm saying? We was far last season, but this is a new time, innit? Like, but yeah, man, subscribe to the thing, innit? Subscribe to Adam McKola TV. Subscribe to Straight Up as well. Myself and Dean have got a new show coming on Straight Up. It's going to replace the Weekend Wrap. Do you remember the Weekend Wrap? It's replacing that. It's going to be called Straight Up Sports, where it's going to be myself and Dean's weekly look at all of the football action and sporting action as well. So Straight Up Sports will be beginning next week on Monday. And there will be the preview as well. I think Dean's going to come along to that for the Brighton game, which should be on Thursday, and lots more coming your way. So keep it locked, keep it subscribed to Adam McKola TV, subscribe to Straight Up. Thank you to Dean for joining us. Thank you to you guys for joining us. And for now, we're out of here.